Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey.
Insert Democrat socialist here.
Runs the Democratic House floor for 30 plus years running. He's promising this and he's stealing that. Where can you get that kind of money? He's using your house like his own piggy bank. You ought to know by now.
You know, I drew emojis.
You can pay off your house here in Illinois, but you can never keep up with the taxes. Oh, how it's always been the plan to have a taxpayer pay, no doubt. Not a matter of if anymore, but when. You're moving out. I said, when you're moving out.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. That theme music means it's time for a weekly conversation with Ted Dabrowski, President Wirepoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. But first, a few more read-offs of candidates. District 205, Elmhurst, York High School. Tom Chavez, Lan Lee, Linda Nuduro, Jamie Esker Scher. So Esker Scher, Nuduro, Lee, Chavez for Elmhurst 205.
In Lockport, Borsma, Rogers, and Clausen. And that's the ballot order.
Okay.
Okay, just got that text message in.
Woodridge, I mentioned Woodridge. There are two Republican candidates running. I can't speak to them. I don't have them on my list. But Dupass and Wiley. And given that the board is 6-1 Democrat, it could hardly get worse. Same thing with Downers Grove, where Sean Casten's wife is one of the candidates. Where is that? Here we go.
Yeah, Caston wife is running with a slate of candidates.
Oh, of course she is. They're uniting the workers of the world. What the hell's Downers Grove? Good grief. All right, well, we'll get to it. I wanted to get to something else.
I wish I could help you, but I can't tweet, so I don't know.
Here's the thing. Just again, sort of the emphasis on the sort of schools and the sort of culture that extends beyond the schools, whether you still have kids in school or not, and what will be visited upon them in one venue or another. An incoming Massachusetts school superintendent revealed his job offer was rescinded prior to his start date for committing the offense of addressing two women on the school's selection committee as ladies.
Hey, ladies.
Really? I don't think he did it in the Jerry Lewis.
The Jerry Lewis.
I didn't think he did it that way. I think he just addressed it in an email, so he didn't do a Jerry Lewis impersonation. But
he got in trouble for that?
Didn't get in trouble. He lost the job that had been extended to him. Vito Peroni was offered the position of head of East Hampton Schools, but was notified the job offer had been withdrawn over his choice of a salutation in an email to the chairhuman, and executive assistant, both female, who interpreted his ladies' greeting as a microaggression.
Oh, my God.
The job was not about money for me, said Vito. I honestly felt I was like coming home to East Hampton. I coached football here. I was principal here when we built the school. I have such wonderful memories. I was excited to come back. But then he ran into chairhuman Cynthia Kwasnicki and Suzanne Colby, a couple of awfuls, clearly, who he addressed as ladies at the top of a written exchange. He was told, as he reports, by the chairhuman, that ladies was a hostile and derogatory salutation. The fact that he didn't know that as an educator was a problem. I was shocked, he said. I grew up at a time when ladies and gentlemen was a sign of respect. I didn't intend to insult anyone. Is it okay if I call you a lady?
Yeah.
Maybe it isn't appropriate, but not for the reasons they think.
Oh, boy.
So this is what I'm talking about. So those are the gatekeepers at a school in Massachusetts, and if you think the government schools in Illinois are any different, then you're not paying attention. The gatekeepers when it comes to hiring a superintendent. So what kind of superintendent do you think they're going to hire for that school district? And then what kind of
Gee, I wonder.
assistant superintendents and administrative staff is that superintendent going to hire? And you see how this works? That's the same thing that has happened over the last 50 years on college campuses, whereby anybody who is a peaceful pluralist, a classical liberal, much less a conservative, is outnumbered 10, 20, 30, 50 to 1 in their academic departments or in the university administration. The gatekeepers. And the only way that you change out the gatekeepers is to elect school board members that will represent the taxpayers and the parents. Thus today being an important day. For more on all this, pleased to be joined now by Ted Dabrowski. Ted, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy. Good morning, people.
Yes, humans, we prefer.
Humans.
That's
Listeners.
offensive, people.
I
Offensive,
apologize.
sir.
You know, you can't say guys, too, to a boys volleyball team or any team. You can't say guys.
No,
Every
you're
other
assuming
guys.
things not in evidence. How do you know
Every-
I'm a people? A people. Yeah. All right. So, what's the feedback been to the report cards that you issued on some 700 school districts in Illinois? Because we've talked about a few of them, and the response has been interesting. It's generally been, at least in places like Wheaton and Hinsdale and Naperville, shock. But I wonder what your feedback has been.
No, it's been great. I think we ran into something. Of course, we've always wanted to reach more people, and a lot of times at Wirepoints we rely on putting out some of this core data on different issues, whether it's property taxes or COVID or whatever it would be, and we would hope the media would pick it up. But what's fascinating is the media won't pick up any of this. They won't report on it, and so what makes it more fun is that these report cards are getting into people's hands directly through the website, and it's being spread. And of course, your show is helping spread that as well. And so we've gotten tons of feedback, thanking us for it, making it accessible. Like you said, shock. I think the whole combination of putting together not just the results, but looking at the property taxes, looking at home values, and looking at enrollment too, right? I mean, where you're seeing in a lot of places enrollment shrink, spending way up. It's really ticked off a lot of people, and so I think there's a lot of thanks for that. What I think is fascinating is the pushback from ISB. They've had to come out twice and try to say that the data is wrong.
Well, you're their biggest threat.
Well,
It's
yeah,
their data.
I know,
Yeah, it's
it
their
is their
data.
data. But you
and
found it
what's
out.
amazing is, and then guys like Rick Pearson and Dan Petrella at the Tribune,
Yeah.
they're having to come out and now defend the status quo. And they will never, like Rick Pearson will never call or write or challenge Pritzker and say, "Hey, Pritzker, why did you hire Tony Sanders, whose kids were 1 out of 10 in reading in Elgin? Why?" He won't ever do that, but he's going to try to say that the data we're putting out is wrong, when, like you said, it is the government's own data.
Well, what's
Well,
up with the
so what is-
truancy
wait,
problem? And go on.
What does ISB say? What do you mean? It's
Well, first off-
the data's wrong. It's your data. What do you mean?
Well, there's several. I love these angles. We're going to come out with a pretty comprehensive piece just to whack each one of those. First of all, Tony Sanders says we have some of the most rigorous standards in the country, right? Doesn't defend it other than just
Please.
right.
We're testing too much? Yeah, okay.
It's
Yeah,
actually too
another-
hard. Yeah.
I love. So there's a couple. The other one is we're ignoring growth, and growth is really important. And so, right, and so that's where you see these school districts with 2% of kids reading at grade level, and they get commendable. The reason why is because
It's up from
grew
1%.
a little bit.
It's up from 1%.
Exactly.
We've doubled the number of students who can read at grade level.
And that's commendable. And they say, well, you've got to take into account graduation. Well, you can fudge graduation any way you want, right?
Right.
But I think that the saddest one, and this is the soft bigotry of low expectations. When I testified in front of the House Committee, Education House Committee Appropriations, and Representative Hirschhauer, brought up the same thing that ISB did, and Tony Sanders. Well, these are diverse districts, and therefore,
Therefore, they don't have to read or do math at grade level?
exactly. Like, let's excuse it. Let's just forget the standard. Let's lower the standard. And that's the saddest part to me.
Speaking of
one
low
other-
standards, I just cannot believe the truancy rate at New Trier High School.
Well, that's a whole nother thing about how these kids who didn't go to school for 2 years, and then when they become seniors, are like, who cares? Well, why do I need to be there? And so you've got a lot of kids that just don't show up for classes. I don't know the whole story. I've been trying to figure it out myself, but it's just why go? You can do a lot of stuff without going.
The other piece of this, too, just in terms of breaking it out of the data, people go to wirepoints.org and look up the school districts they're interested in and see the whole report card, which also has as you were talking about, the enrollment figures, which direction it's going, property tax, and per pupil spend. We know which direction that's going, straight up like a bottle rocket. But the teacher, I love this one too, the teacher approval. So we've talked about this before, where you have you could have at some of these school districts single digits of kids at doing reading or doing math at grade level, and you have teacher approval ratings at like 99%, like Chicago Public Schools. Explain to people, just so it's clear, how you can have such a chasm between the output and the assessment of teachers.
Well, the pushback I've gotten, I can't explain it other than the unions, of course, are there to take care of themselves. They've got to justify, their pensions, the huge pension system. We're talking about a $43 billion, when you add up all the money spent on education in Illinois, $43 billion a year. So you can bet whatever you want. They will protect all that money coming in and justify it. So here you have like Decatur or all these school districts that are, CPS, horrendous results, and yet you get 100% or 99.7% proficient or excellent ratings for teachers. And it's really, their argument is, we're trying hard. These are
no. But the process by which they're graded. Who grades the graders?
Oh well, it's these approved. What was the language I had? It was these by approved administrators or I got to find it. I think
so. They're
approved administrators or trainers, right? So it's just back scratching, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's. I mean, what else is it? How else do you get to 100%? Right? You would understand 67, 72. You'd understand in schools with 2% reading ability, maybe a 48%. But when you get to 100, it's corrupted. It's just corrupt. It doesn't mean anything. And I tell you what really ticks me off about this is you read this stuff. They have scoring. These documents that tell parents how to read this stuff, and they say, this is the best indicator of how things are going in your school. So when you see a commendable rating, when you see reading at grade level, when you see 100%, if a parent does dig in, they think everything is fine at the school. They think everything is fine with their kids, and we just know it's not true.
All right, how are you feeling about today's mayoral race? The latest Victory Research poll has Vallis up 4 points on Brandon Johnson.
Yeah, I wish I had a stronger gut. I don't have a gut about which way it goes. My concern is that Vallis is in some of the things he's done and not done. He's lost to the intensity of voters. Brandon, a little bit more fired up, might get the intensity votes his way. The whole Latino thing, they could make a swing, but they don't go out and vote. So, it just kind of comes down to that: get out the vote, and I have no clue. But I do think it's close as hell. So
yeah, it is.
Ted Dabrowski, President Wirepoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. Ted, thanks as always.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
And before we jump, before
Yes.
you thank him,
Officially, yes.
yes, the official thank you. Joliet Township High School 204, Damon Dunich, Zdunich, Damon Dunich, and Thomas Fitzpatrick, 2 candidates to support. And I got the Downers Grove answer if you don't want to support Sean Kasten's wife and her merry band of awful Marxists. The last names for the 3 candidates in DG: Alan Cox Erickson.
Okay. And Ted joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hi, Barry Sterner, founder of Townstone Financial. Inflation has caused many of us to use our credit cards more than usual. Having large credit card balances at interest rates at or near 20% is difficult to manage, on top of the fact that making minimum monthly payments is a path to financial disaster. So how about taking out a fixed second mortgage or a home equity line of credit to tap into your home's equity and pay off those high interest rate credit cards while keeping intact your current first mortgage, which is probably in the 3% range. Home values are at very high levels, but may not stay that high for long. So now is the time to give Townstone a call so we can provide you with a free debt consolidation consultation at 312-896-2110. And if you're looking to buy a home, Townstone has programs for first-time home buyers, self-employed borrowers, and individuals with less than stellar credit, as well as those with perfect credit and a large down payment.